How would you feel if no one remembered your birthday? Lucinda, a mother who has been forgotten by her children for years, celebrated her birthday in solitude. No one remembers that it was her birthday. However, this year will be different. That morning, Lucinda woke up with a familiar throbbing sensation in her chest. Today is her birthday, but it doesn't have any special meaning anymore. She lives alone in a quiet little house, filled with memories of laughter and love, but all in the distant past. Her children have grown up and moved to distant places. Although they sometimes sent greeting cards, she rarely saw them again. For most of the day, Lucinda sat by the window, quietly looking at the world out there. Occasionally, she came across images of families passing by together, children dancing in front of her, while their parents slowly followed, or an elderly couple walking hand in hand. Each of those scenes made her rejuvenate, filled with sweet and sour memories. Today, she feels lonelier than ever. The silence in the house seemed to remind her that another year had passed without anyone by her side. The night before, Lucinda had baked a small cake herself, just a simple recipe she remembered years ago. She carefully placed the cake on the table, arranged 2 candles next to it, and poured herself a cup of tea. She sat quietly looking at everything, her heart heavy. A tear rolled down her cheeks as she felt the loneliness of her special day. Late in the afternoon, a knock on the door suddenly broke the silence. She was startled. The first thought that flashed through her mind was that her children had come to celebrate her birthday. Her face was radiant, mixed with guilt because she did not have enough faith in her children. How can they forget the mother who gave birth to them and nurtured them with all their love? She hurriedly wiped her tears and quickly walked out to open the door. But when the door opened, it was not her children, but a young man with a gentle smile and a small bouquet of wildflowers in his hand. She thought he must be a delivery man. His dress was neat but simple, and his face was friendly, though she couldn't remember where she had met him. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Lucinda," he said in a soft voice. "I'm Curtis. I often see her sitting by the window every day on her way to work. She looked a little sad today, so I thought I'd stop by. I brought this bouquet to give to you." He handed her a bouquet of flowers. Mrs. Lucinda felt her heart tighten at Curtis' gracious gesture. "Thank you, Curtis. You're so kind," she said, her voice trembling. She invited Curtis into the house, not wanting him to leave too quickly, because she couldn't remember the last time she had visitors. They sat together at a small kitchen table with a small cake in the middle. Curtis saw the 2 candles placed next to the cake and asked, prompting Lucinda a little embarrassed to explain, "Today is your birthday." She made this cake herself, but she didn't think anyone would share it. "Happy birthday, Grandma." "Mrs. Lucinda," Curtis said, his voice warm. "Why don't we light a candle and celebrate?" Lucinda's hands trembled as she lit 2 small candles. They sang happy birthday together. Mrs. Lucinda's voice was small, choked with emotion, but Curtis's voice sounded radiant, making the whole room seem to light up with a new warmth. For the first time in years, she felt as if someone really saw and understood her. As they enjoyed the cake together, Lucinda told stories from the past. Memories of her children when they were children, memories of her long-deceased husband, and how they built their lives in this house. Curtis listened attentively, his eyes full of reverence and empathy. He asked questions, smiled and laughed with her stories, making her feel like her heart was warmed by sincere concern. As the afternoon sun faded, dyeing the room a warm shade of gold, Curtis stood up and prepared to leave. But before he could go to the door, he stopped and turned to Mrs. Lucinda and said, "I'll be back soon, Mrs. Lucinda. I would love to hear more of your stories." Mrs. Lucinda, so moved that she choked up, and embraced Curtis. Her hands trembled as she embraced the strange young man, but who had given her a warmth and kindness that she had not felt for years. She stood there, watching Curtis walk down the road, relieved as ever. From that day on, Curtis regularly visited Lucinda every week. He brought small gifts, a book he thought she would like, fresh flowers picked from a nearby field, or sometimes just himself with a warm smile and a willingness to listen. Curtis became the family Lucinda had longed for. He filled her days with laughter and companionship. That year, her children didn't call and she didn't expect it. But strangely enough, the pain seemed to ease somewhat, for she now had Curtis by her side. Her heart was gradually healed, little by little. Although she once felt forgotten, Curtis's kindness reminded her that love always has a way, even in the most unexpected moments. As time passed, the relationship between Lucinda and Curtis grew closer. Every Saturday, Curtis regularly visits, bringing fresh flowers, a small gift, or sometimes just a friendly smile and warm stories. He helped her with small chores in the house, but most importantly, he was a real friend, someone who genuinely cared. The house that was once quiet and empty is now filled with laughter and vitality. One evening, as they sat together, Mrs. Lucinda, choking with emotion, said, "Curtis, you have thought a lot. She has never had grandchildren, and her children, they have had their own lives. She had been lonely for so long, but she had changed that. I gave her joy and reason to smile." Curtis smiled, his eyes full of warmth. "Mrs. Lucinda, I also consider you like family. I lost my grandmother a long time ago, but when I met her, I felt like I had found her again." At that moment, they decided to formalize their relationship. Lucinda adopted Curtis, bringing them immense happiness. Since then, Curtis has visited her more often, helping her with everything she needs. Occasionally, he would bring his friends to visit, filling the house with laughter and warmth. Thanks to Curtis, Lucinda felt younger, happier, and her heart seemed to be filled. But time waits for no one, and her health begins to deteriorate. The house, once bustling, gradually sank into silence as Mrs. Lucinda lay bedridden. But Curtis, always loyal and devoted, did not leave her. He was by her side, holding her hand, reading to her, and comforting her in the last days of her life. Lucinda, smiling faintly but contentedly, used to say, "You are really lucky that I knocked on the door that day. I made the last years of her life the happiest." On a peaceful morning, Mrs. Lucinda passed away quietly, with Curtis sitting beside her, holding her hand tightly. He didn't leave until everything was settled. Curtis' heart breaks when he loses the woman he considered family. Later, Lucinda's children were informed of her passing. They showed little interest but showed up a few days later to attend the reading of the will, seemingly expecting to inherit the property. When the lawyer began to read the will, everyone was stunned by what Mrs. Lucinda had left behind. In her trembling handwriting, she wrote, "To my children, I wish you happiness, even though we have walked different paths. But for Curtis, who brought her love and joy when she had nothing, she left this house. This is a place that contains memories of kindness and laughter thanks to children. I hope you will fill this place with your own happiness." Curtis shed tears when he realized the deep love that Mrs. Lucinda had for him. Her children were surprised and one of them exclaimed, "Did she leave everything to a stranger?" But Curtis knew he was no stranger. For Lucinda, he was family, who was there for her when she needed it most. The house, her most precious gift, now belongs to Curtis. Although she had no money or treasures, she left him a place filled with memories, laughter, and love. As Curtis walked through each room, now quieter without her, he felt her presence everywhere. In every little corner, in every old item, and in the faint scent of the tea she loved. Curtis promised to keep Lucinda's memory alive, to make the house alive with kindness and warmth, and to cherish the priceless gift she had given him. A family, love, and a home filled with warmth. After the house officially belonged to Curtis, he decided to fulfill his promise to Lucinda. Curtis not only preserves the house, but also gives it a new lease of life. He continued to visit regularly, bringing his friends and loved ones with him. Curtis always remembers Lucinda with deep gratitude. He took advantage of every little corner of the house to spread the kindness and warmth that she had taught him. By telling Lucinda's story to the public, he kept her memory alive. The house is now not only a place to store old memories, but also a place to start new memories. Small parties, gatherings of friends, and stories told through quiet evenings all contribute to making the house bustling and full of life. Despite the absence of Mrs. Lucinda, Curtis has always felt her presence in every corner of the house. He remembered her gentle smile, her warm voice, and the love she had for him. With sincere affection, Curtis is determined to keep this house a place full of love and happiness, just as Lucinda wished. As Curtis walked through each room of the house, now quieter than ever, he felt Lucinda's presence clearly. Every little corner, every familiar item, and even the faint scent of her favorite tea seemed to still hold her breath. Even though Mrs. Lucinda is gone, her spirit lives on in this house. It was not only a place of memories, but also a place where she taught Curtis about love and kindness. Curtis promised to keep her memory alive by continuing to spread her kindness. He is determined to make the house a warm place, full of laughter and sharing. For Curtis, this is not only the home she left behind, but also a symbol of love and family connection. Every day, Curtis lived by the values that Lucinda had given him. He saw the house as a priceless gift, where her love would always exist and a source of motivation for him to continue spreading kindness, just as she had done. The story of Lucinda and Curtis is a moving testament to the power of kindness and family love. From her loneliness, Lucinda found solace and happiness in her unexpected relationship with Curtis, a stranger who gave her a warm feeling like family. Although not flesh and blood, Curtis has shown that love and care do not depend on blood ties. With kindness and sincerity, he brought new light to Lucinda's last years, making them the happiest of times. The story ends with Curtis' promise to keep the memory of Lucinda alive and continue to spread the warmth she gave him. It is a reminder that, no matter what the circumstances, kindness always has a way to find and change people's lives in ways that we cannot expect. Thank you for following the story of Mrs. Lucinda and Curtis. Hopefully, you will also find joy and happiness in your precious relationships. Mrs. Lucinda left all her love and possessions to Curtis, who was with her when she was at her loneliest. When reading her will, her children were extremely surprised. They had always thought that the house and the things she left behind would definitely belong to them, but the last word in the will stunned them. In her will, she wrote, "To you, I hope that you will always find happiness, even if the path we have taken is no longer the same." But for Curtis, who gave her love and joy when she had nothing, she left the house. The house has so many warm memories thanks to Curtis, and I hope that he will continue to make it a place full of laughter and happiness. Curtis couldn't hide his tears when he heard these words. For him, the house was not just an asset, but a symbol of a special relationship with Lucinda. Her children, meanwhile, were dissatisfied and said she had left everything to the stranger, but Curtis knew that he was no stranger, he was her family. After receiving the house, Curtis was determined to make it a place to store the best memories of Mrs. Lucinda. He walked through each room, feeling her warmth through every little corner, every piece of furniture, and even the faint smell of tea that she loved. Although the house is quieter now, Curtis knows that her spirit lives on there. He promised to keep the house full of kindness and love, as Lucinda had done. The memories of their days together, her laughter, and the stories she told were always a source of motivation for Curtis to continue living with a heart full of warmth and compassion. The house is now not just an asset, but a symbol of love, family, and human values that Mrs. Lucinda has passed down. Curtis was determined to do everything she could to keep that flame alive, so that Lucinda would always be remembered for all the love she had given to the world around her.